Patrick Cook here. Welcome to session number 9 of the Mastering Mandelbulb 3D Formulas. Now, the last half a dozen sessions I've been blabbing on about iterations and our bailout and all that kind of good stuff. I want to make sure that we're okay with all of those concepts before we forge ahead. Because I'm going to quickly be getting into hybrid modes, and it's going to get a little bit more complicated. So it's important that you understand this whole concept of these iterations. Okay, so I want to take this session and just review the concepts that we've been touching on so far. Okay, I'm going to hit a reset here. Reset. I'm going to recalculate, and I'm back to my default. All right, and everything's cleaned up here. I'm back all to my default values now. All right, so the iteration count down here pertains to the number of times that the currently selected formula will be executed. One iteration count, formula 1 will be iterated one time. Let's get another formula in there. I'm just going to pick anything. Iteration count of 8. I'm going to pick anything. Yeah, boop, okay. Iteration count of, I don't know, 16, just to differentiate. Okay, so the iteration count down here is the number of times that a formula will iterate up to the point at which the R bailout is met. And the R bailout pertains to all of the assigned formulas, the sequence. When the R bailout is met, the sequence doesn't run anymore. All right, and it doesn't matter how many times the iteration count is. If the R bailout is met, it just stops executing. All right. So and the min and the max iterations, that's the minimum number of times that a set will be run, or the maximum number of times a set will be run. Again, the R bailout tells the software when to stop executing the sequence. Now, I just picked 3 formulas here. I picked them at random. I don't even know what they look like, but let's take a look. So I'm going to calculate these 3. All right, okay, kind of weird, but that's okay. I'm in alternate mode, which means that I ran formula number 1, then formula number 2, then formula number 3. All right. And just to prove our bailout, I'm going to put that to 1. All right, okay. And so the calculations met the R bailout so quickly that they can't write all the pixels to the screen. I want to put an R bailout of 1000 in there. It doesn't. The object was written to the screen before it hit the R bailout, so it doesn't need to actually achieve an R bailout of 1000 because all the pixels, all the formulas, were fully formed on the screen well before the R bailout of 1000. So, all right. Now, so and the min and the max. Let's get this back to, I don't know, what was it? Something reasonable. The min and the max iterations are the minimum times that the whole set will run, or the maximum time the whole set will run. Let's put a max iteration of 20. Okay. All right. The graphics, the 3 formulas alternating, were able to fully form on the screen at around or about 20 or 30 iterations of the whole set, the sequence. Okay, so, all right, the maximum iterations is not necessarily going to be a number of sequence iterations that will be met if the bailout is met. So one of two conditions are going to be reached. The sequence will either reach the maximum iterations or will reach our bailout. If either one of these two conditions are met, the sequence stops being cycled through. All right, if the formula itself will never go beyond the iteration count. So there's basically three parameters here that condition the whole formula execution. The iteration count, which is specific to each formula, the min and max iterations, which is specific to the formula set, all of the assigned formulas, and the bailout, which pertains to the set, or all of the formulas, all right? And so these concepts are pretty basic. They don't change. They have an impact. And from a creative standpoint, you can utilize these what I call formula conditioners. All right, you can utilize those creatively. All right, to get some pretty interesting effects. I mean, you can come in here and you can deliberately and specifically limit the bailout to have an impact on your screen. Let's try an bailout of 3. Okay, 2. All right, you see we're starting to make a change here. Bailout of 1. I wonder if I have an bailout of 0. Do I blow the application up? Yeah, okay. That's an bailout of 0. Here's the bailout of 1. Now we get a little something starting to develop here because we're allowing more pixels to be written to the screen. In other words, we're allowing, think of it this way. Think of that concept of the orbit, okay? The orbit. With an bailout of 0, I have an orbit that's pretty small. Only the pixels that make it within these values will be written to the screen. All right, so a lot of pixels don't make it. They fall out of the orbit and they don't get written to the screen. If I put an bailout of 1 in here, I've opened up my orbit a little bit more, so more pixels will make it into the object, and you can see here, all right, I got more objects, more pixels are being written. Bailout of 2, I'm opening up it even more pixels get written because more pixels fall within the orbit, all right, or fall within the bailout. All right, 16 gives me a pretty well-formed graphic, 1024. All right, but by that time, the iteration count has already been hit somewhere in there, and it never hits the bailout. Either way. Okay. All right. So I got 1 minute left here. Let's reset this, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to pick. I'm just picking. I'm picking crazy weird formulas here. I just want to kind of get something else on the screen. All right. Okay. Now let's take here. Did I miss that? All right. Let's take in formula number 4 now. I don't know. Okay. Let's punch it. See what I get. Interesting. Okay. Bailout of 16. Let's do an bailout of 2. An bailout of 1. You see? You see? All right, I've got my orbit, our bailout is so tight that not a whole lot of the points are being written to the screen. All right, and so a lot of this, okay, 16, I'm fully formed now. If I say max iterations of 10 to be crazy, okay, yeah, all right, I made a modification, max iteration of 5. You see? All right, so here's the magic in the sauce. Pertaining to the sequence, and I have a sequence of 4 formulas. That's my sequence, my formula sequence. My formula sequence, if I limit the iterations and or if I limit our bailout, I'm going to restrict the number of pixels that can be written to the screen that make up the Mandelbulb object. All right, put that back to 60, put this back to, I don't know, whatever, 1024, no magic number there, I just picked a number. And I get a pretty decent graphic that is formula in alternate mode, hybrid mode. Formula 1 is run to the screen, 2 screen, 4 the screen, 4 and the screen, and that's my graphic. And my operators down here have an influence on the graphic that goes to the screen. Okay, so now you know everything there is to know about iteration count, which is per formula slot, min and max iterations, which is the formula sequence, and the R bailout, which applies to the formula sequence. Now you're ready for more good stuff. I'll see you in the next session.